morning, everyone. I'm Henapaul from the Department of English. Today, I would like to discuss the lesson The Lost Child, a short story prescribed in the first semester syllabus for UG students. This short story was written by Mulkraj Anand. Now, here you can see the pictorial representation of a local festival. So this is what we'll be seeing in the story. Let's get into the lesson. So here, let us first know about the author of this lesson, Mulkraj Anand. Mulkraj Anand is an Indian writer who wrote in English. This lesson or this short story was also written in English by Mulkraj Anand. Now this now The Lost Child is a short story taken from a book of collection of short stories called The Lost Child and Other Stories. This was published in 1934. Now Mulkraj Anand is considered father of the Indian English novel especially, and he is well known for writing on the sufferings of marginalized people, people of the marginalized communities like the backward castes and outcast people. So two of his famous short novels include Coolie and Untouchable. Now Coolie was published in 1936 and Untouchable was published in 1935. So Mulkraj Anand lived from 1905 to 2004. Now he is considered a multifaceted person. Now multifaceted means having different sides to something. So here the author also is considered a multifaceted person because of his life experiences. He worked for BBC, he worked in a random restaurant in London, and he studied in Cambridge University, and he also got his PhD from Cambridge University in 1929. So all these different life experiences he had make him a multifaceted person, right? And coming to his PhD dissertation, which is the topic of his PhD, mainly consists of information or studies about Bertrand Russell. Now Bertrand Russell is a famous philosopher and a Nobel laureate as well. He received a Nobel Prize in Literature in 1950, and the author Mulkraj Anand is also associated with George Orwell. Now, if you know George Orwell, he's a very famous writer. His works are also recommended, prescribed in school textbooks and all. So George Orwell wrote dystopian novels mainly, which are his main popular novels are dystopian novels. A couple of them include 1984 and Animal Farm. Animal Farm is very famous one. So George Orwell also was now our author. Mulkraj Anand associated with George Orwell, and he also went to a gathering called Bloomsbury Group, which is basically a gathering of intellectual people, various artists and literary critics and writers of different kinds. They gathered together occasionally and they worked on things they worked on artworks and literature and stuff. So he was associated with the people of the Bloomsbury group. And now our author Mulkraj Anand was also acquainted with Mahatma Gandhi, our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi also gave Mulkraj Anand some advices which later shaped his novels and all. And not only did Mulkraj Anand work as a writer, he also worked as a script writer, not just for novels. He also wrote scripts and he worked for BBC. Excuse me. And he also shared the same building as George Orwell, as we talked earlier, the famous writer George Orwell, who wrote 1984 and Animal Farm. He was living close by George Orwell's house. And Anand also was an art critic, and he also wrote magazines and also promoted the Indian art, architecture and dance. And Mulkraj Anand lived for a very long time. He lived for 98 years. He died in 2004. Right? Now, let us get into the historical context of the lesson and also the cultural context. Here we are mentioning the cultural context because there is an aspect of culture in this short story. It's nothing but a festival season. So the setting of the story here is a festival celebration or a fair where we find a lot of things to eat, amusement rides to enjoy, and things to buy and stuff like that. So the story is set in rural India during the early 20th century. And village fairs, as we talked earlier, village festivals and fairs are important social and cultural gatherings. And in these gatherings, we see a lot of people, right? In exhibitions and in, say, circus or all sorts of these gatherings, we see a lot of people and a lot of interactions go on between people and so on. So this fair is a center for very large social interactions. And in these fairs or festivals, we see in this particular story especially, not just in the fairs, but in this particular story, are mentioned as a few things that the boy sees. So here, now the basically the story of this lesson or the story is about a little boy and his parents who go to a local festival. Now this happens in Punjab, right? Punjab local festival. The boy and his parents go to this festival, and there he sees a lot of things, right? Here we mentioned a few things he sees in the fair: toys, sweetmeats, floral garlands. Here the floral garlands are the mentioned floral garlands are made of gulmohar flowers. Folk entertainment like the snake charmer and religious celebrations, and this fair symbolizes the richness and diversity of the Indian culture, right? In Indian fairs we see not just amusement rides, but we see small temple arrangements, which is typically Indian cultural thing, and also we see things to eat. Food is also culture, right? Indian food, especially in this story we are talking about Punjab, so Punjabi food maybe in the story, and sweets and stuff, and amusement rides and stuff, right? Now, The Lost Child by Mulkraj Anand is believed to have been written in the early 1930s while the author was in Cambridge. See, earlier we talked about him getting a PhD from Cambridge University, right? So while he was doing his PhD, or while he was studying, he wrote this novel, and it was published in 1934. It was he worked on it in 1930, and so, and he released it. He published it in 1934. It was actually published in his debut book collection, right? The Lost Child and Other Stories is a book collection in which this story was included, and it was his debut work. The story was inspired by Anand's old childhood panic when he got lost at a fair in the Kangra Valley of Punjab region. Right? Like I said earlier, this story was set up in Punjab. This was inspired by the author's own life story when he was a child. He got lost at a local festival, and that inspired this story. And coming to the significance of this short story, it serves as a realistic setting and a symbolic space of temptation and distraction, which is typical of a child, right? Curiosity gets your attention all the time, and kids in general are curious beings, right? So now let us get into the story. A young child accompanies his parents to a spring festival, like I said earlier. Along the way, he is fascinated by various attractions. He desires toys, sweets, flowers, balloons, and rides. Out of respect and fear, he suppresses many of his wishes. See, now the child sees a lot of stuff around in the festival, and he wants to get all of them, but he doesn't get everything he asks for, because even in our families and all, we ask our parents for a lot of things, but we don't get everything. They say not now and stuff like that, right? So the child also faced the same thing in this story. While distracted by the fair's attractions, he becomes separated from his parents. Now he looks at all the stuff around him, plays around, runs around happily, jumping, and coming back to his parents whenever they call him. And eventually, at some point, he gets lost in the fair, in the festival, right? Now, once he gets lost, his priorities change. In the beginning, he wanted to get all the sweets or garlands or stuff like that, right? And as he gets separated from his parents, his priorities change. Now he only wants his parents and not anything else. Now, let us briefly discuss the story first. The story begins with the child and his parents going along a road where some people walk, some people ride horses, and some people go on bullock carts. And here, the child and his parents are walking. The child holds his parents' hands and walks along the way, and he sees beautiful yellow mustard field in front of him. He sees flowers in the field, and he gets excited. He runs near the flowers and stuff. And there, he sees dragonflies flying close to the ground, right? We see dragonflies flying close to the ground. The child sees dragonflies and gets excited and tries to catch them, but he couldn't catch. And then he sees insects along the road. Uh, he tries to take a look at them. These insects, they crawl out to get some sunshine. He sees these insects, and then his parents call to him every time he gets distracted. His parents now sit on the corner of a well at a room and call upon him, and he excitedly runs towards them. And there, while he runs towards his parents, flower petals fall on him from trees above, right? Now this is apparently an open space, and there are trees. From this description, we can understand that there are trees around, and flower petals fall on the child, and he tries to collect the petals, and then he goes to his parents, and they continue walking into the festival, where along the entrance they see a lot of shops with toys in them. Now the child, like we know, children get excited when they see toys, right? So he also got excited, and he asked the parents for toys, but he knew that he wouldn't get those toys, because we don't get everything we ask for when we go out with our parents, right? So especially kids, they want everything they see, right? So he obviously knew that he would be asking for things and he wouldn't get everything he asked for, right? And then and then he goes along with his parents. His mother gently calls him to hold, and extends her finger to hold, and he holds his mother's fingers and walks along his parents. And the child also sees a sweet shop there, and in which the vendor keeps shouting the names of the sweets he sells: rasgulla, jalebi, burfi, and gulab jamun, etc., etc., right? So now here is a picture of burfi, right? We know burfis, right? Now the child's favorite sweet is burfi. So when he hears the vendor shouting, he asks for he sees these sweets, and he asks his parents for burfi, which is his favorite sweet. But he knows that he wouldn't get everything he wants, and so he carries on walking forward while his eyes are still fixed on those toys and sweets and stuff. And then he sees balloons, well, colorful balloons and all he sees, and he wants those balloons, but he doesn't ask. And then he also sees a snake charmer along the way, and he also sees the snake charmer. Here we see a snake charmer, and he also sees a garland of flowers made of gulmohar flowers, as I said earlier. Now, burfi is his favorite sweet, and he asks for gulmohar flower garlands, and he sees a snake charmer and gets excited on seeing the snake. And he also sees a roundabout. Here is the picture of the roundabout. We usually see them in exhibitions and stuff, right? So here in the festival, the child sees all these stuff. Here in this picture, we can see a child trying to hold balloons, right? Now, coming back to where we have stopped earlier, the child sees all these things and gets excited, and he has shiny eyes throughout. And at a point where, after he saw the snake charmer, after he gets distracted by the snake charmer and the roundabout, he gets lost. He looks around for his parents. Suddenly he starts looking around for his parents, but he couldn't find any. Neither his mother nor his father are seen anywhere around. So as he keeps searching for his parents, he starts crying. Now he's not looking for sweets or garlands or roundabout rides or the snake charmer or anything like that, even the garlands and balloons. But he's looking for his parents. Now, suddenly, psychology of a child is like that, right? When you don't see your parents, you start looking for your parents and you start crying if you are a child, right? So here the child also starts crying, bawling his eyes out, crying for his parents, calling mother and father, but he doesn't see anybody. Now, while he's crying, a kind stranger approaches him and takes him in his arms and tries to calm the child. He shows him the sweets that he saw earlier, the sweets, the roundabout ride, the garland, the snake charmer, the balloons and stuff. He keeps showing the child these stuff, but the child doesn't want any of these, right? The child only keeps asking for his parents. Now, now that becomes the central idea of this story, the child psychology. Now, the story traces the transformation of desire into emotional dependence. Now, in the beginning, the child was only happy looking at everything and he wanted to have everything around him. But at the end, he only searches for his parents, right? Now, that is a simple childlike nature the child in the story has. He keeps searching for his parents. Now, this becomes the central theme of the story, this child psychology, where we explore a typical child's need for care and love and protection, right? Now, let's take a look at the character of the child. Now, the child is the protagonist of this story, and here he represents curiosity, innocence, and spontaneity. He spontaneously runs here and there. He's curious about everything he sees, and he's innocent. He's innocently looking at everything around him, and he's easily captivated by beauty and novelty, right? He sees beautiful flowers, he wants them. He sees nice balloons, he wants them. He sees a beautiful ride, roundabout ride, he wants to go on it. He sees uh, good sweets, his favorite sweets, burfi. He wants to get the burfi and all that stuff, right? And this reflects the natural desire of childhood, right? This is only natural for children, right? It's only natural for children to want everything they see, right? And he displays obedience despite wanting many things, like we discussed earlier from the story. Though he wants all the things he sees, he keeps obeying his parents and he doesn't ask for the things a second time, right? Experiences a profound emotional awakening after losing his parents. And now here comes the awakening of his basic need for love and affection and protection, right? When he gets lost, he keeps searching for that protection he once had while his parents were with him, right? And we all see the psychological development of the character here. In the beginning, he's only interested in the things around him, but when he gets lost, he keeps searching for his parents, for their love and attention, right? Now, um, now, after being lost, he values the love, security, and the family above everything else. And now this symbolic replit. Now there's a symbolic role of the child in this story. He represents children in general and the universal experience of dependence on parental care and protection. Right? Like we talked earlier, this child here represents children in general who crave for the love and affection and care and protection of their parents. His natural surroundings. He craves his natural surroundings when in time of crisis. That's what is portrayed in this story, right? And here we discussed the various things we saw. Uh, the child, saw in the festival there. The child wonders at everything he sees at the fair. He keeps lagging behind, watching things while his parents call him again and again. He catches up with them but gets distracted again. The child keeps asking to buy things, but in the back of the head, he already knows the answer, which is no, no, child, not now, right? And he asks for the sweets, but he knows they wouldn't buy him any. He asked for the garlands, but he knew he wouldn't get that either. And he looks at the roundabout and the snake charmer and all stuff, right? Like we discussed earlier. And here, let's look at the characters of the parents. The role of the parent. Parents are loving and protective figures, right? Now here we see a picture of a child holding his parents' hands, just like that. The child in the story also was holding their hands while he entered the fair or the festival, right? And the parents guide the child through the fair. Their responses reflect practical parental wisdom, right? It is only practical that the child wouldn't get all the things he wants, all the things he sees, right? So here the parents also represent typical protective and wise parents in general. And in between the mother and the father, there is a balance of discipline and nurturing, right? The mother is a bit kinder while the father is a bit strict, right? Now, now their presence provides emotional security to this child, and their absence creates fear and vulnerability, right? Though they speak little, they remain central to the story, right? So, at the beginning and even throughout the story, the mother is caring and gentle, while the father is a little strict. And the child not giving everything he wants and asks for, right? And the symbolic meaning here is embodiment of safety, stability, and unconditional love. The parents here symbolize safety, stability, and unconditional love. Like we have talked about the story earlier, the parents are only caring and loving because we understand this. Because now here, let us look at this as well. The parents take the child out for a fair for fun, right? This explains that the parents are caring and loving. They take their child out on a little trip for him to enjoy the stuff around him in the festival, right? They both walk as their son keeps looking at things around him and getting mesmerized. They walk beside him, silently admiring him while he enjoys, runs around, and laughs with shining eyes, right? The child knows they would say no to most of the things he asks for. Like we talked earlier, it's only typical of parents to say no to certain things that we ask for, right? The father is quick to give a cold look. The mother, on the other hand, distracts him with a warm smile, asking him to look at the things ahead, right? Like we see here in the picture, the mother, the nurturing figure that she is, gently reminds him to follow her without shouting at him, right? Well, the father figures are usually a little strict, right? Here in the story as well, the father is a little strict, and they look like typical parents of an Indian household, keeping things strict and at the same time giving the child the love and protection he needs, right? And from the story, we can only understand that the parents are strict, but also loving, caring, and nurturing. Right? Now, let us have a look at the symbolism in the story. Right? The fair or the festival represents the attractions of the material world, human desires and temptations, beauty, excitement, and sensory pleasure. Right? That's what the fair represents. The attractions mentioned in the story, like we um, discussed earlier: toys, sweets, garlands, balloons, snake charmer, and roundabout rides. Alright? And here there's a deeper meaning to the symbolism of the fair. The fair mirrors life's distractions. In the story, it's just a distraction for the child, but if we take personally, in general, it represents the life's distractions, right? It demonstrates how eternal pleasures often divert attention from what truly matters, right? Worldly distractions for us in general distract us from important things in life. Here, the child got lost from his parents, the most important thing in his life, while he was looking at the other things, beautiful things, right? And let us look at the themes of the story. Childhood innocence is one of the themes. We see the childhood experiences of the writer, right? As we discussed earlier, it's inspired by the life of the writer in his childhood, right? The child experiences the world with wonder and excitement, like we like we know from the story. And parental love, we see how the parents love the child and protect the child, and how they are warm and a bit strict as well, right? Loss and separation creates emotional tension and drives the narrative. Here, the narrative is driven by this loss and separation at the end of the story. Now, here we should understand that this story ends in open. It has an open ending, right? We only know that the child gets lost, he cries, and a stranger picks him up and tries to calm him down, but the child keeps on crying for his parents, and we don't know what happened next. So, this is considered an open ending story where and material desire versus emotional need. Material attractions become meaningless without parental presence, right? uh, when the child was looking at all the things, he was just happy and excited, but when he gets lost, his parental presence is more important to him than anything else, right? Security and belonging. Human beings seek emotional attachment more than physical pleasures. uh, and typically the children, basically, we know that the children need a lot of physical closeness to their parents than they need anything else, right? Not the toys and stuff, but parental presence is more important to the kids than anything else. Now, emotional and psychological transformation, the turning point in this story, right? In the beginning, the child only wants to get the stuff, the child loses sight of his parents. And what are the consequences after he gets lost? Fear replaces excitement. And in the beginning, he was excited, but now, at the end, he is only afraid, and he desires to see his parents. Emotional dependence becomes evident, right? In the beginning, he's only excited, but now his emotional dependence surfaces, right? And some important observations from this story are: when offered toys, sweets, balloons, rides, and all the things that he wanted earlier, the child rejects everything and respect repeatedly, and he only repeatedly cries, right? He cries I want my mother, I want my father. And he cries. He says that, and he keeps crying when the stranger asks him, right? Now let us get into the message and relevance of this story to us, right? What does this story teach us? Family relationships are more valuable than material possessions. Emotional security is a fundamental human need. Childhood experiences shape emotional understanding. Love and belonging are essential for happiness, right? And these are the extra points that we have to note in the story. But basically, the story mainly teaches about the child psychology, how the children need their parents and their love and affection and protection, right? And the vulnerability of childhood, right? And contemporary relevance in a consumer driven society, the story reminds us that emotional bonds matter more than possessions, physical possessions, right? Continues to resonate with the readers across cultures and generations. Now, this story, when we apply to our own lives, it shows us that the emotional dependence or the presence of loved ones in our life is far more important than material possessions like money or buildings or cars or stuff like that, right? All those are meaningless when we have no human connections. That is one of the points we can get from this lesson. Now, if we look at uh, the lesson, after understanding the lesson, here are few questions that we can discuss on to understand the lesson even better, right? Why does the child reject all the attractions after losing his parents? Because he knows the importance of his parents in his life, right? And how does the fair function as a symbol in the story? Like we discussed earlier, in a general sense, it's just for entertainment purpose. But if we go deeper into the symbolic meaning, it functions as life's distractions, right? And what does the story reveal about childhood psychology? Now, this lesson, the story, reveals that to children, care and attention, love and warmth are far more important, and they don't really give attention to these when they are already present in their life. But when they get lost, they keep searching for these important things. And not just the child psychology, it's human psychology. We don't value the things we already have sometimes, and we end up crying or regretting not having those things in our life when we lose them, right? And then, why is parental love portrayed as more valuable than material pleasures? Because what is more important than human connections, right? So, these questions we can also discuss in the physical class, right? We'll discuss these questions in the physical classes to get to more understanding of the lesson. And our key takeaway from the story, the lost child, is not merely a story about a child who gets separated from his parents. It is a profound exploration of human attachment, emotional security, and the realization that love is far more valuable and important than any worldly attraction. Right? To the child, it's his parents. To us, a lot of other things, right? It also includes our parents and a lot of things, important things that we need to do in our life, uh, right? So, and we also have a lot of distractions in our life, which distract us from going forward and growing in life, right? We have to keep in check where we are at in our life, where we are standing in our life, and keep on checking for the distractions and eliminating them instead of getting distracted. Right? So that is it for the lesson. I hope I hope you had a good time listening. Thank you. Thank you for your listening. See you in another video. Thank you.